Welcome to the kill-death ratio, where I count all my kills and all my deaths. Today, I'm playing Silent Hill, released in 1999 for the PlayStation and developed by Team Silent, a small division within Konami. Off the heels of Resident Evil's success, Konami chose to create a horror game of their own and wound up with a defining title within the survival horror genre that went on to influence countless games after it. We play as Harry Mason as he searches for his daughter Cheryl in the eponymous town. Harry is an untrained everyman that is ill-prepared for combat, but that won't stop us from racking up the kills in this foggy little town.
It's like this is all some kind of bad dream.
After inserting the disc, we're shown a short 2-minute intro with various clips from the game that ends with Harry swerving to miss a mysterious girl walking in the road. All while composer and sound designer Akira Yamaoka's absolute banger of a soundtrack plays. His songs slap so hard, they borrowed the same music from the first 4 games and implemented them into the 2006 movie. I select normal difficulty, and we cut to Harry post-crash waking up to find his daughter Cheryl is missing. Looking like he shat himself, he waddles into the town and spots Cheryl running into the dense fog. As we chase after her, an unidentifiable mutilated body litters the cement just beyond the fence. Clearly ignoring my commentary, he asks what it is before I command him to move into the alley nearby.
What's this?
It's a gurney, Harry. It's just a gurney, so let's move on, please.
What is this?
Oh my god, Harry, it's a dead body. Use your eyes. What the fuck is that? I panic and run off, but eventually I succumb to the Grey Children as a designed death that doesn't actually count because Harry snaps awake inside a diner. He ponders if what we just experienced is a dream as we're introduced to Sybil Bennett, a cop from the nearby town of Brams. She inquires why we're in this godforsaken place where the phones and radios are non-functional. Without any entertainment to pass the time, Harry promptly gets up to leave, but Sybil stops him, warning of the dangers outside. She hands him a gun and provides some basic firearm safety lessons.
And don't go blasting me.
Sybil takes off to go back to Brams in search of reinforcements while Harry punishes his first victim for refusing to use the front door. Turns out the radio is working, it just produces static when enemies are nearby. With my first enemy down, I take my time grabbing items inside the cafe before heading into the town to get used to the controls. Even in 1999, the biggest drawback most reviewers had was the wonky controls, so I explore the town, picking up items, dodging enemies, and getting my kill total near 10 as I put Isaac Clarke's stomp to shame. Eventually I began using the D-pad, making exploration a whole lot easier, where I head back to the alleyway I may or may not have dreamt my death in and find a note from Cheryl that points me towards the school in the southwest along with a pretty accurate portrait. I need to find my daughter ASAP, otherwise I'll wind up in the doghouse. Well, since I'm already there, I guess I'll take my time then. I push my kill total into double digits between the air screamers and the groaners while I grab the keys necessary to move towards the school. Director Keiichiro Toyama approached the game with 2 primary goals in mind. The first was to obviously invoke fear in players, and the second was to accurately recreate the look and feel of small American towns. His first trip to America was during the 1998 E3 conference in Atlanta, Georgia. He took the opportunity to explore the city a bit and subsequently got mugged for the $2 whole he had on his person. Later he went on to Konami's offices in the small little town of Chicago, eventually coming across the Holy Name Cathedral. Near that location, he found a touristy spot in a bookstore that detailed other areas of Chicago. From there, he gained inspiration for the layout and look of Silent Hill. I exit the back door of this house, but the sun has decided to abandon me, making the clip-on flashlight necessary. The lighting system in this game was revolutionary for its time. By making it completely dark around the player minus the area within Harry's immediate vicinity, it allowed the developers to ease back on what the console had to process at any given time. It also helped immerse the players into the world and increases the paranoia as the radio begins to emit static while our vision is impaired. I kill a few more monsters to get my kills up to 25 before I locate the school entrance and pick up the map inside. I find a few cryptic messages written in blood on some overdue library books that these punk-ass kids must have defaced. I provide some old-fashioned discipline while adding my first official death of the game. In the lab, there's a bottle we thankfully don't confuse for a health drink as it contains acid that melts a frickin' statue so we can snatch up this gold. Inside the locker room, I hear a banging noise where a kitty jumps out for the cutest little jump scare ever. No! Die! 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 I move on to place the medallion in one of the slots in the clock tower in the central courtyard and take a brief break to practice some piano. Shh. shit, dude, you're terrible. Ooh, some silver. A couple more kills later, I finish blinging up the clock tower, and afterwards stop in the basement where Harry shows you how to smash that subscribe and like button. Back at the clock tower, it's time to enter the other world.
Where am I?
Were you not listening? I said you're in the other world. It's kind of like an alternative.
Have I been here before?
No, Harry. Like I was saying, it's an alternative version of the real.
I don't remember this being here before.
Fuck this. I give up. The layout is the same in the other world, however, things have been altered a bit, forcing us to explore this industrial, rusty version of the school to uncover a new gun and some seemingly random items that lead to solutions to more cryptic puzzles. The other world also contains even more gray children and a new roach enemy known as the Creeper, which nets another 12 kills here. We stop for a bit of nostalgia as Harry recounts this fairy tale he remembers reading as a kid, detailing a hunter killing a lizard after it opens its mouth and takes an arrow to it. That knowledge will come in handy a little bit later. But first, Harry gets straight up assaulted by these little demons who pay the ultimate price for their transgression. I angrily stomp on a few roaches before heading into the basement where we see something in the middle of the room.
What's this?
Our first boss fight. This is Splithead, a colossal lizard I play Ring Around the Rosie with by running in circles around the middle of the stage. Once it opens its giant face, I blast it with my shotgun to make it kill number 62. Upon its death, we transition out of Otherworld into the Fog World and watch as a strange woman fades into nothingness and leaves a key behind in her place.
What was that?
It was obviously a ghost, Harry. We mark the church on the map after hearing the bell toll and venture back into the foggy town, adding another 5 kills along the way. Inside, we get a brief CGI sequence of a terrifying old crone turning around to put more fright into Harry and myself than anything else has thus far. Takayoshi Sato was the sole member responsible for creating the roughly 10 minutes of CGI used throughout the game. While it certainly shows its age now, this was mind-blowing in 1999. Games did not use CGI like this, and Sato basically didn't go home for nearly 3 years because he needed constant access to the equipment in order to create these scenes. His dedication to the project was hard fought too, because he had to present his case to even take on the 3D modeling work. His superiors delegated him to menial tasks in between teaching older members of the team 3D until he sat the suits down and threatened to withhold his knowledge unless they put him on 3D full time. Because of that boss-ass move, they folded and made Sato the full-time CGI director and character designer, giving us cinematics that were nearly unheard of back then. Harry asks the scary old lady if she rang the church bell, and instead she drones on about his presence being foretold by gyromancy?
What are you talking about?
I was gonna say the same thing actually. Dahlia Gillespie piques Harry's interest when she tells him to follow the path of the hermit to find the girl, but this strange item called the Flaros conceals it. She urges Harry to get to the hospital right away and leave some items for me on the pedestal. I run to the bridge to the east and use the key to lower it, where new and old enemies alike introduce themselves to my foot. When I enter the hospital, a gunshot rings out nearby. Inside the examination room, a man has shot and killed a screamer, but I have no idea how he even hit it when he misses Harry point blank. Thankfully for us and for him, which is something we'll see later, he doesn't harm Harry and introduces himself as Dr. Michael Kaufmann. He simply woke up from a nap and wound up here and has no idea what's going on. Harry figures he should inquire about his daughter anyway, and if we needed another reason to dislike this guy, he tells Harry she's probably fucking dead on account of the monsters.
Sorry, I didn't mean to alarm you.
Yeah, okay, sure you didn't. He asks about Harry's wife, and this is where we find out she died 4 years ago. But Dr. Douche couldn't care less and struts out with a suitcase. This gives us some valuable alone time, so I can pick up some items. Beginning an important side quest I chose to take on for this playthrough for the sake of the ending it'll offer. Each Silent Hill game has multiple endings, with nearly every entry including a UFO ending that was first submitted as a joke to provide alternative reasons for the occurrences in the town. Since they typically require a completed playthrough to obtain, we likely won't see those endings on the channel. We show our disappointment in that news by stomping on some more creepers before getting the elevator up and running by powering on the generator in the basement. We stop on each floor to find the doors locked, and upon returning to the elevator we find a super secret floor 4 has revealed itself. Pressing that button gives us visions of an antique shop and bounces our ass back into the Otherworld. The Otherworld Hospital is a maze of floors and rooms populated by nurses and doctors being puppeted by a parasite attached to their back, which pushes my kill total into triple digits as I gather the items necessary to gain access to the basement storeroom and the hidden area within. Harry satisfies his pyromania by setting fire to a grate hiding a secret hallway underneath it that houses several more nurses that are taken out by my favorite melee weapon. Beyond them is a videotape, a key to the Otherworld's examination room, and a picture of—
What's this?
Shut up, Harry! Shut the fuck up! As I was saying, we locate a photo of a woman named Alessa that matches the apparition we saw right after defeating Splithead. One more kill later, we insert the tape into a VCR and watch the worst movie ever, as we get zero picture and like 5% of the dialogue. Afterwards, I run to the examination room where we meet nurse Lisa Garland, who is very happy to see another normal human being. Like everyone else we meet, she's clueless to what is happening and where Cheryl is. Harry asks about their unusual basement setup, but she claims not to know anything because staff is under strict orders not to go into the storeroom down there. I'm not staff though, so Harry starts to tell her what he saw down there until sirens begin to go off in his head and he faints. He wakes up in a hospital bed wondering if all that was just a dream until Dahlia is like, "Surprise, motherfucker!" And he says he was too late and now needs to find the other church before the town is swallowed by darkness. She drops a key on the desk nearby while telling us we cannot let the marks of Samael, like the one we saw in the courtyard of the school, be completed. She dips out and we follow suit by heading to the antique store where another cabinet is hiding a hole in the wall.
What's this?
Before I go off on this dude, Sybil wanders in informing us that every road is blocked off, so she couldn't find reinforcements. She claims she saw a little girl in the fog heading towards the lake, but she did some wacky shit by walking on air to escape Sybil. We pivot away from that outlandish info and ask her about the old crone Dahlia Gillespie and her claims of darkness devouring the town. Her only explanation is Dahlia must be partaking in too many Scooby snacks.
They sell them to the tourists.
Yeah, why do you think I'm here on vacation? On that note, Harry tells Sybil to stay back while he explores the hole, where we find the other church and this picture of the Juggernaut if he's been skipping leg day. Turns out Sybil may have been right about Dahlia, as we find a strange powder in the chalice that randomly immolates when I try to leave. Possibly in a drug coma, I wake up to Lisa Garland claiming I was having a bad dream. Harry inquires about Dahlia and we find out that her child was killed in a fire 7 years ago, which drove her to insanity. With Lisa proving way more useful than Sybil, he asks her about the stuff Dahlia has been saying and finds some truth to her claims. We discover the town has a shady past with the occult before it began turning into a resort town, but then she stops herself from saying any more and we wake up again! I'm going to need a spinning top to determine if I'm in a dream or not at this point. That puts Harry into an existential mindset, pondering if he's lying in a hospital bed stuck in a perpetual nightmare after he crashed his car or something. And while he's left to think about that internally, I intend to ask Lisa if she knows how to get to the lake with all these streets blocked off. I take out a couple rompers and some otherworld variants of the Groaners called Wormheads, then head into a mall where they attempt to sell me on their new TVs by showing me Cheryl. Not now! I'm shopping! Upstairs, we spot a dead body and naturally want to check it out, but then the floor drops out from underneath us when we start our second boss fight, this time against a giant larva called the Twin Feeler. This room contains the hunting rifle that I snag right away while I run around the room and take pot shots at the insect until it's defeated. But then it throws a Shyamalan plot twist our way by uncurling and busting out into the town to avoid being part of the kill count. I head out the same way and add a few more monsters to the count, including another otherworld variant called the Night Flutter. We bust out the trusty map to pinpoint our location, noting the street names that are named after various horror authors that provided lots of inspiration to this series, including Richard Matheson, Dean Koontz, Richard Bachman, aka Stephen King, and Ray Bradbury, among many others. Originally, 3 books were chosen by Kiichiro Toyama to base the game off of: The Phantom by Dean Koontz, Stinger by Robert McKimmon, and what was chosen as the winner was Stephen King's novella, The Mist. Rights to the story proved difficult to obtain, however, and Konami wanted to send Toyama to America to convince King to let them use it. Ultimately, they scrapped the idea in favor of a unique story due to difficulty in adapting The Mist to a game format and the issues in obtaining the rights. I enter the examination room again and ask Lisa how we get to the lake from here. With Bachman Road blocked off, she says we can check the waterworks near the elementary school that is rumored to contain tunnels that lead there. She begs him not to go because she's hella scared, but Harry has to find his daughter and gives Lisa the most convincing argument to come with him.
I can't promise you anything, but I'll do my best to protect you.
She understandably declines this offer, so we go across the street where the boss that escaped us earlier has matured into a moth shooting acid at us. After a few minutes of running around unloading ammo into it, I killed a float stinger, which triggers our transition back into the fog world and to the waterworks. Underground, our radio doesn't function, making the sewers more tense as monsters can lurk around any corner, or on the ceiling. Scratches are easy enough to contend with, but they do succeed in providing the best jump scare of the game when I obtain the key required to exit the sewers. I climb out of there into the arms and wings of 3 more kills. Here's when I resume and finish out the side quest required to get the ending I'm aiming for. I save Dr. Kaufmann from being killed by a monster and I don't even receive a thank you. Instead, I get 0 help at all when I ask if he knows a girl named Alessa.
No.
I pick up some items he dropped after being attacked, which leads me to 4 more kills. During this quest, I make a couple stops to a shop called the Indian Runner and the motel down the street. Turns out this Kaufmann fella is involved in the drug trafficking Sybil was rambling on about. We eventually uncover a bottle of the same red liquid we found inside the hospital, that Kaufmann is really pissed that we found.
What is this?
You wanna die?
He takes the mystery liquid and the quest ends there as we make our way towards the Lighthouse area. The town transitions in real time from Fog World into the other world, and Harry describes it feeling a little different this time, like reality actually turning into a nightmare. But not a nightmare for me, a nightmare for these beasts as they fall one by one. I board a boat to find Sybil there too, where Harry tells her he believes the town is slowly being swallowed by someone's nightmarish delusions that are manifesting little by little. But she's skeeved out by this claim and thinks he needs to get some sleep. Dahlia enters like,
"Surprise, motherfucker!"
to say the demon has awakened and that only 2 more marks remain before the town and Cheryl are lost. She tells Harry to check out the lighthouse and the amusement park next, with Sybil offering to assist by checking out the park while I go to the lighthouse. She claims it's to find Cheryl, but I know damn well she just wants to hit up Space Mountain. Before disappearing again, Dahlia reminds Harry he'll need to use the flowers in order to stop what's happening. I increase my account a bit more on my way to the lighthouse, but it turns out we're too late because Alessa already activated the mark up top. Well, I guess it's time to hit up the amusement park, baby. On the way there, I wind up taking out a few enemies outside and inside the sewers, with a new type being introduced. The mumblers were used as replacements for the Great Children in the Japanese and European versions of the games because censors claimed the Great Children resembled actual children too closely. I guess America didn't really give a shit about that, as I bash a couple of them in the amusement park. I start with the most boring ride first and approach the carousel, but it appears Sybil had the same idea and demands the ride all to herself. You have 2 choices here. Either shoot back and kill Sybil, or pour the red liquid we obtained way back in Kaufmann's office all over her. A parasite wriggles free and Harry kills it with his most powerful weapon. While she recovers, she asks Harry why his daughter was taken. He can only guess as to why, but thinks she may have a connection to this place. Turns out Cheryl isn't his biological daughter. He and his wife found her abandoned on the side of the road with no records of a missing child, so they took her in as their own. While leaving the ride, we spot Alessa, who shoots him with the force. The flower house activates and traps her there. Again, Dahlia appears,
"Surprise, motherfucker!"
and reveals Alessa is her daughter and that Harry was assisting Dahlia in confining her this whole time. A purple light shines bright as shit and transports us back to the hospital with the twitchy Lisa. She admits she went to the basement and experienced some deja vu while down there, but couldn't recall the memories. Harry fails to comfort her yet again and descends in the elevator to the final area of the game. Alessa is lucky as hell she's a ghost, otherwise she'd wind up on the kill count. So instead, I add more nurses and another enemy called the Stalker, a shadow creature similar to the Mumblers. While down here, Lisa greets us again, trying to show off her Carrie cosplay, but that freaks Harry out and he leaves her behind. Inside that same room, Lisa's diary remains, with details revealing she was the nurse that attended to Alessa after the fire. The girl simply refused to die, and despite the horrible impact it had on Lisa, she continued her duties in exchange for a drug called PTV that was being supplied by Kaufmann. As we near the end, we catch a glimpse of the past as doctors and Dahlia discuss Alessa's hospitalization and the birth of the cult god, with one particular guy doing a really shitty impression of Vito Corleone.
Half the soul is lost.
Finally, we arrive to confront Dahlia, who stands next to what appears to be Cheryl in Alessa's clothes and a bandaged-up body. There's an invisible barrier protecting them from Sybil's gunfire, while Dahlia monologues about sacrificing her daughter to fire 7 years prior to try and bring forth the god. However, Alessa split her soul in half to prevent this, with the other half manifesting as Cheryl. She was called back to Silent Hill by Alessa so she can restore her full power and attempt to purge the town using the seals of Metatron that Dahlia falsely claimed were marks of Samael. Since Harry unknowingly served Alessa on a silver platter, Dahlia is able to bring forth the incubator. But because of my earlier actions, Kaufmann comes in and shoots Dahlia to shut her the fuck up and tosses the red liquid we saw on the motorcycle. It smashes over her face, making her scream, but emerging from her back is the final boss, the incubus. It immediately murks Dahlia, good frickin' riddance, and we begin the fight here. I had plenty of health items for this confrontation, so I basically stood there shooting it with my rifle until it drops dead. With the beast defeated, the incubator hands over a random baby and points towards the exit. Harry and Sybil run over there, but when Kaufmann tries to join them, a bloody Lisa prevents him from doing so, and we leave him there to scream for help. We watch as Alessa is lost in the crumbling otherworld, while Harry and Sybil escape into the fog as the credits begin to roll. We get a brief glimpse of the two of them in the real world, and it transitions into a light-hearted end sequence showing us the primary characters we saw throughout the game. As Harry sits there smoldering, we enter the fog to examine the final numbers. I finished Silent Hill with 189 49 kills in all. Harry's foot is going to need to be iced up after stomping over 54% of those enemies to death. The majority of the enemies encountered occurred within the hospital, with its staff making up just over 20% of the total monsters faced. I died only one time at the hands of a great child, which would have been easily avoided if I simply went into my inventory and used a health drink while I was being attacked. My kill-death ratio came out to a solid 189 even. Silent Hill took me 6 hours and 50 minutes for me to complete, which gives us a kill on average every 2.17 minutes and a death every 410 minutes. There is so much lore in this game I couldn't possibly touch on in this video without making it too long and ruining the pacing, but if that's something you'd like to see in a separate video focused on just that, let me know down in the comments. I had a ton of fun diving into old school psychological survival horror and can't wait to move on to the next game in the series. I'm going to play the first 4 Silent Hill games as well as starting the Remedy games beginning with Alan Wake. Thanks as always for watching. I'm King Deschain, signing off for now.